You are not going to believe how easy it is to get elegant fall decor for just a few dollars. There's a little Dollar Tree, some high-end dupes, and thrifted items. You are sure to be inspired with all this fall decor, so let's get started. I got 2 of these pumpkin signs on a recent trip to Dollar Tree. Now you could double up the size of this next sign by overlapping these 2 pumpkins. I think that way would be a good idea if you're going to use this, say, on your front door or on a large space like an empty wall. I'm going to use this as decor on a shelf, and I'll have it with other things, so I think I'll just stick with one of these pumpkins. Let's use some of this grayish chalk paint in the color Castle to paint the back of the sign. The front had a few dings on it, but the back is nice and smooth. Oh, and if you're curious on how I keep my craft mat relatively clean, well, it's not perfect, but considering I've painted right on it numerous times, it's still going strong. I'll link this exact mat below. It's nice and thin, so you can roll it up when you're not using it. And it is a rubber material that's easy to clean. I use either Clorox wipes or these alcohol wipes, and I go over the paint a couple times until it's all gone. I added a piece of Dollar Tree contact paper to the back to cover up the other design. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just in case anyone sees the back, it will look nice. And it will also ensure that none of the black paint from that side scrapes off on my white walls. I wrapped some of that raffia skirt around the stem of the pumpkin. Now we're going to add the word fall to the front. I don't have a Cricut or any type of cutting machine, so I'm going to be brave and freehand this. I will use some guides so it doesn't come out lopsided, but I'm doing a really simple and thin font, so this shouldn't be too hard. And if this makes you nervous, just try writing it out on a piece of paper a couple times until you feel confident to go right onto your sign. After going over it a couple times with my white chalk paint pen, I think it came out pretty good. These wheat branches were something I had never seen at Dollar Tree, so I picked up a few of those. I'm going to use these with the Sola wood flowers. This is mostly neutral, but you can see that just adding a touch of orange and kind of a faded orange to this piece gives it that elegant yet fall feel. The bottom seemed a little empty, so I thought this ribbon from Dollar Tree would dress it up, and I like how you can still see a bit of the paint behind the ribbon. I think I want to upcycle this pumpkin into something new this year. I had hand painted it to give it a little dimension, but I think for today's project we want a flat white look, which will be really crisp looking. I'm just masking off the brown stem here with some tape. I use garbage bags cut on two sides so I can open them up and place them on the garage floor so I don't get spray paint everywhere. I'm going to take the pumpkin outside and give it a coat of flat white spray paint. And while that's drying, let me show you real quick what else I have in my fall decor bin. It seems like Target and Dollar Tree bring back a lot of the old favorites every year, so even though I got these a year or two ago, you may still be able to find something similar this year. Now that we have the pumpkin painted white, we need to decorate it with some flowers. These flowers will be the main attraction. I want to show you these two wood flower assortments that Sola sent me. I've made flowers out of paper, but I've never seen flowers made out of thin sheets of wood like this. They're so beautifully made, and I love the colors in these two packages. This one is the Sola Cottage Hill assortment. I'm definitely getting fall vibes from this set. It has some gold flowers in there that would be beautiful for fall DIYs, and lots of neutrals too, which are great for decorating any time of year. These are very detailed and realistic looking. They are lightweight and they kind of feel like thin foam. I was worried they would be too delicate to work with just from looking at pictures, but they feel really sturdy in person. This one has some of the natural non-dyed wood on there. And then this is the Sola Little Bow Pink assortment. And you can see there are a few shades of pinks and then some more neutrals and a few in the mint green. The assortments are nice because you get not only a variety of colors, but also shapes and sizes to play with. So let's see what we can do with these. I'm wanting to do an ombre effect on the pumpkin, so let's organize some of these from lightest to darkest. All that's left to do on this is hot glue them in a flowing pattern down the side of the pumpkin. To get this cascading pattern, I'm starting at the top and then making a curved line down the middle. Then I add the florals to the sides to finish off this floral waterfall. I'm looking at it from different angles as I go along to make sure it doesn't have any empty spots. If you're new to my channel, welcome to Artsy Cupcake. My name is Maria and I share crafts and home DIYs. My passion is creativity, and I believe everyone is an artist in their own way. Being creative can heal your soul, and it's a self-expressive form of well-being. Please join our community by hitting that subscribe button and also that little notification bell, That way you'll know when I post new ideas for getting creative in your home. And I post new videos every week. You can find these smaller hula hoops at the Dollar Tree. I'm going to give one side a light coat of white spray paint. That way when we wrap this with raffia, there won't be any show through of the colors behind it on that hula hoop. This raffia is actually from a hula skirt that I found at Dollar Tree during the summer. I've used it for lots of different projects and it's lasted me a really long time. You get a lot of raffia for just $1 with these hula skirts. I'm using about 4 to 6 strands at a time to cover more ground, and I add a dot of hot glue every once in a while to make sure that the raffia doesn't shift. When I get near the end of the pieces, I use some hot glue on the back and then I trim off any extra pieces. When I start the next piece of raffia, I overlap the last one. I'm mostly looking at the front as we go along to make sure it's evenly covered with raffia. Continue wrapping until you get all the way around and enjoy yourself because this is supposed to be relaxing. Now we have this hula hoop which looks nothing like a hula hoop anymore. I love how the raffia added this beautiful neutral colored texture to the hoop. This was a sign I had found on a Dollar Tree Valentine's Day sign way back in February. So I saved it because I thought the linen texture was really nice. So we're just going to give it a coat of paint and this will go nicely with our neutral theme. I have these gold rub-on transfers from Dollar Tree. I'm going to cut out the words Fall Vibes. Then I'm figuring out the kerning between letters to know approximately how much space I have. If you don't know, since I'm a graphic designer, I tend to know weird things about fonts. So a little typography 101. Kerning is the space between individual letters. Tracking is the overall space between letters in entire words. And letting is the amount of space above and below the words. So the letters did not stick to that painted linen fabric, so I have a new plan. This is a piece of Dollar Tree poster board and I'm just going to cut it a little smaller than the actual sign. The gold pops more on this white paper anyway, so I'm kind of glad the other way didn't work out. I added some foam stickers to the back to give this a bit of height, and now this sign is ready to go. I'm going to use a combo of floral wire and popsicle sticks to get the sign and all the flowers on the hoop. I want the design focused on one corner of the hoop, so all the support will be there. The hot glue really sticks well to the wood and the raffia, so this will be pretty sturdy when we're done with it. Does your Dollar Tree have this new $5 section? They had all kinds of larger items, and I found a set of 3 canvases here. Usually Dollar Tree canvases are not much bigger than 5 or 6 inches, but the largest one in this set was about a 16-inch square. I just want the frame of this canvas for our basket weave sign, but I'm saving the actual canvas for our next project. It doesn't matter if the staples stay on here because we will be covering all this up with Dollar Tree twine. Once I removed all of the canvas, I was surprised to see that one side of the frame actually looks nice and it looks like a nicely molded frame. Usually the smaller ones are just flat pieces of wood, so this is good to know for future projects because I may just use this as a frame some other time. We're going to wrap the twine around the entire frame. You'll need some hot glue to help the corners stay in place. I'm using about 4 or 5 strands at a time so that the wrapping will go a little faster. When I get to the end of a piece, I hot glue it to the back and then trim off the ends. To start a new piece, hot glue the beginning near the end of the last strands and overlap a bit so you don't see a seam. It took a little over 1 ball of Dollar Tree twine to complete this 16-inch frame. I don't like all the fuzzy bits, so I'm trimming the frame up so it looks nice and clean. For the basket weave backing, we will start by trimming strips from paper bags. Then I'm scoring, folding, and gluing the pieces. This will make them a little thicker and more sturdy, and will also make the edges look finished. Once you have all your 1-inch pieces, we're ready for the fun part, weaving those paper strips together. Before gluing, make sure you like the placement of the strips. Once you've glued those in place, start weaving the other direction. Let's add the word fall to our basket weave sign. This Dollar Tree placemat has a nice texture on the back, and it's a pretty color that will look good against our brown paper. We'll use the same technique as before and trim out these blocky letters out of the placemat. Just glue those right onto the paper bag strips. Now for some decoration at the bottom of this sign. I think a hint of pink and this maroon gingham ribbon from Dollar Tree will look so pretty on our sign. I found the wheat stems at Dollar Tree, and they are perfect for that empty spot in the middle. I'm adding a piece of Dollar Tree ribbon to the top so we can hang this fall sign. I'm using some Dollar Tree twine to wrap the stem. A few dollops of hot glue and a few spots will ensure that this twine isn't going anywhere. Okay, let me show you how to DIY your own wired ribbon. I start by adding a line of hot glue to this thick picture frame wire. Then I lay the ribbon on top. I add another piece of ribbon to sandwich the wire in the middle, and we're done. I twirled this around my finger to create a little decor for around the stem. For the letters, we'll be using this gold poster board, which you can find at Dollar Tree. I printed out the word fall for our sign, and I printed this backwards. I used a bit of Super 77 to glue this to the back side of that poster board, and then we trimmed it out. Blocky fonts with straight lines are really easy to trim out with an X-Acto knife. I think these turned out looking really nice. I added some height to these letters by using foam stickers on the back. I added some twine through those two holes in the top, so we will be able to hang this sign on the wall. Then I played around with some Sola wood flowers to decorate the bottom of the sign. I think the muted seafoam green looks so beautiful with the gold and neutrals on this sign. Let's see what we can make with this piece of Dollar Tree foam core. I have some wallpaper samples. This one reminds me of fall. It has acorns, bunnies, and birds. This one is also pretty with the silver accents, but I think I'll go with the bunny one for this project. I'm going to use some Super 77 to glue this down. Oh, and I have this little rubber eraser. I've seen these at Dollar Tree, but I've had this one forever, like 20 years maybe. I use it to get glue off my fingers, or if something tacky is on paper, you can gently unstick it with this glue eraser. I just love this thing. Next, we're going to use that leftover canvas to make a pocket. I'm unwinding this nautical rope because just one piece of this will be the perfect height to trim up the edge of this foam core. I added a piece of ribbon to the top of the pocket, and then I decorated it with more Sola wood flowers to make it look like they are coming out of that pocket. I used some three-dimensional stickers to spell out Hello Autumn. Have you ever purchased something and it came in such a nice box that you didn't want to throw it away? Well, this is the perfect project for those instances. I got a cheap pair of sunglasses off of Amazon. I needed a pair for when I exercise outside because mine were always slipping off my nose. So this box was sturdy and has a nice texture on it, so I felt like I could use it for something else. And today is the day. I'm going to paint this, and it's going to be like a little basket for some florals on our sign. The foil embossed logo will be on the bottom, so no worries about that showing through. I've been loving these Sola wood flowers, and I will link them below for you. We'll create a stem so we can use these in the floral foam for our little flower box. I have these bamboo skewers from Dollar Tree, and they have a pointed end that you can stick right into the foamy section at the bottom of these Sola flowers. Since I like to reuse these Sola flowers over and over again, I'm not going to use glue. I'm just jabbing the sticks in there, being careful not to poke my finger. This wooden sign came from the dollar spot at Target. It was only $3 and has two sides, so you can be sure you'll be seeing the other side in a future DIY. This has a really nice texture on it, so I think I will leave it as is because I like that wood look. Now it's just a matter of assembling everything together with some finishing touches. Do you guys drink pomegranate juice? If you haven't and you like cranberry juice, this is really similar and it's filled with lots of antioxidants. I have 2 empty bottles here, which I already washed and let air dry. We'll be making a textured candle holder, which will work year round, but I'll also show you how to dress this up for fall. First, we'll saw off the tops of these bottles. Sand the edges and make sure they are cut straight across so the candle holder will sit up straight. I used hot glue because I'm all out of E6000, but I have more on the way. We're just attaching the 2 pieces together. To make sure they were straight, I have my cutting mat, which has straight lines on it, and that way I can see if I have it perfectly straight. You'll also want to attach a dish or tray or even a simple piece of wood to the top, and that'll hold the candle. I have this porcelain dish which I found in the Target dollar spot. It was originally plain porcelain white, but I've painted it several times now for various projects. Either in just the bottom or in both plastic bottles, add some pebbles or sand to weigh it down. That way it won't get top heavy and topple over once you add a candle. You'll want to remove any jewelry for the next part because, well, it's a bit messy. You'll need joint compound, which you can get for just a few dollars in this huge tub from Lowe's or Home Depot or Amazon. This is for smoothing panel joints, but it's also perfect for creating texture on home decor. Because of the consistency, it can be sanded to a smooth finish if you wanted that kind of a look. I left the bottom untouched so it will sit nice and flat, but for all the sides, I dabbed some of this joint compound right on. You can see it doesn't fall off and you can create as much or as little texture as you want. I'm smoothing it out, but creating a few little peaks by tapping it with my fingers. When you get to the tray on top, try to keep the inside somewhat smooth so that when you place the candle, it won't be lopsided. After this dries for a few hours, then you can paint it with your color of choice. Mine looks pretty well covered, but painting will help fix any gaps that may have been missed with the joint compound. I do like the taupe paint on here, and I like how it has a matte finish, but I feel it looks a little bit flat even with that texture, so I'm going to use a little bit of a lighter paint dry brushed on. I'm going to use this by my fireplace, which has a lot of taupe and gray shades in it, but you could paint this with whatever colors match your home. If you do end up doing the distressing, just make sure to use 1 shade lighter so it'll still have that subtle, elegant look, but just a little bit of distressing. To make this candle holder fall themed, I added a few sprigs of greenery, but you could definitely accent this with any decor to make it work any time of year. For this next DIY, we're going to make a wreath out of paper bags and this Dollar Tree wreath frame. First, we'll want to wrap this frame with something. I'm going to try something new today and use these microfiber cloths from Dollar Tree as fabric. Hopefully we'll have enough fabric with these 4 cloths. We'll cut this into strips and glue any seams onto the back so that the front looks nice and pretty. If you're new to my channel, welcome to Artsy Cupcake. My name is Maria and I'm artsy and I love cupcakes. I like to share crafts and home DIYs. I really believe that being creative can heal your soul, and it's also a great way to practice self-care. Please join our community by hitting that subscribe button. It just takes 1 second to click on it, and that way you'll be notified when I post my weekly inspiration for decorating your home. So one pack of these microfiber cloths ended up being perfect. I even had a few strips left over. Now to dress this wreath frame up even more, we're going to add in our trash item. I got these paper bags with my Amazon Prime food delivery, so I have a whole bunch of them. Whole Foods has free delivery with Amazon Prime, so I like to take advantage of that. I had made a bunch of these paper bag strips for a previous craft, and you guys really seemed to like that tutorial. So I'm going to use them again, but in a slightly different way. Start by cutting your paper bag into strips about 3 inches wide, then score and fold them into 1-inch strips and add a bit of glue to keep them sealed closed. Next, we'll glue these strips onto the back of our wreath frame. After these strips finish drying, you can start weaving the other direction and secure them into place. I had gotten this pumpkin off another Dollar Tree sign and I painted it white. I'm going to decorate this with some items you can also find at Dollar Tree. Then for the finishing touches, I think some black and white flowers will complement the beige and white nicely. I'm going to add these at the bottom along with some greenery and a ribbon to hang it. Then I'll show you how this neutral fall sign came out. This pumpkin patch sign is so sweet with the customized names at the bottom, and I love that gorgeous wood frame. But how can we make this for less than $130? Well, with more Dollar Tree finds, of course. I found this canvas at Dollar Tree. I discovered on another project that these larger canvases have a nice wood frame underneath. I'm being careful to save the canvas so I can use it on a future project. Now, I'm a full-time graphic designer, so it was no big thing to recreate this sign. I was able to customize it on my computer, and I put my own little spin on it so that it wasn't identical to the Kirkland's one. I'll get a blog post up soon so that you can download the template. I'll leave the names off at the bottom, and then you can write in your own with cursive, or you could use a rub-on transfer from Dollar Tree to add your names. I used a little spray mount to attach this to the foam core. That line on the left is not supposed to be there, but I was able to cover it with the frame. I trimmed this to be just a little bit larger than the open area of the frame. The foam core backing will make this sign sturdy and it'll lay nice and flat. Since my printer only goes up to letter-sized paper, I have a little edge to cover, and I'm using some ribbon that I got at Dollar Tree to blend the edges together. Now, to paint the frame to match the Kirkland's one, I'm going to start with a grayish color, and after this dries, I will dry brush some black on, and I'm going with long strokes of paint to make it look like wood grain. I went back and forth with the black and the grayish until I was happy with the look. All that's left to do is glue the frame and the sign together. Since this frame is wood, you can easily screw in a picture frame hanger on the back. Here were the supplies we had to pick up for this project. And here is the comparison. I think they came out looking so similar, especially that texture and color on the frame. I've been wanting to make something like these for a while. I think they are so festive and fun with the pumpkin base and the fall florals. I'm just going to make one of these today. So let's say the price is $32 for one instead of $64 for the set of two. You can find felt in all different colors at Dollar Tree. I have this white felt here, and I cut out a long rectangle and then folded it in half. I'm no pro at sewing, so I just quickly and roughly sewed one of the shorter edges, and then I'm pulling it together. This will be the bottom of our pumpkin. Then I stitched up the long side. I didn't go all the way up because I decided I wanted it a little bit shorter than I had cut the fabric. Next, you can flip it inside out and place a cube of floral foam in the middle. The square will create a base for the bottom of this, so it won't topple over. I had some old pillow stuffing and used a little of that around the sides. That'll help make it look puffy. Instead of going straight into the twine, I would suggest you do what we did on the bottom and loosely stitch it and then pull it together. Not as tight as the bottom, but I think if you pulled it just a little bit and left the styrofoam showing, it would have helped everything stay in place a little better. I wrapped the twine around and tied it on the top. Don't worry about how it looks on the top because that twine will actually be helping to hold our flower stems in place. And the florals will completely cover the top. I have some Sola wood flowers, and I took some bamboo skewers and poked them into the flowers so they would stick right into the foam. You could use some flowers from Dollar Tree, and instead of poking the skewers into the back, which wouldn't work very well, just use a dot of hot glue to connect the flower to the skewer. I had a few foam pumpkins left over from another project, so I included those as well. I was trying to figure out how to add a touch of green and ended up going with these tiny white berries off of some eucalyptus leaves because they add the touch of color, but they aren't so much that they take away from the rest of the arrangement. Sometimes it's those little subtle details that make the difference. This set of 3 pumpkins is so cute. I've been into neutral fall decor this season, and these will work perfectly with that. They are $65, but we're going to make them for way less. I love a good artistic challenge, and if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know that I like to use foam core. Foam core is a great medium for seasonal decor because it's so cheap, and if you work with it the right way, it's easy to get a high-end look. So let's get started on these pumpkins, and I'll show you a few tips as we go along. I'm going to use this sign that I found at Dollar Tree as a template to trace, but you could use a different pumpkin sign. Pumpkins are actually pretty easy to draw, so you could also freehand this. Always start with a new X-Acto blade when working with foam core, and if you're not sure if the slice went through all the way, cut twice while you still have everything lined up. You can always clean up any edges though if they look rough. I cut 2 of these pumpkin shapes and will be using one to create a 3-dimensional section for the pumpkin. For this one, I cut out a center segment and I glued it in the middle. I want each of these pumpkins a slightly different shape, like our inspiration piece. So for the next one, I'm making it a little bit taller. And I think instead of a 3-dimensional center segment, I will make 2 on the sides, just so each of the pumpkins is unique. Now, if your edges came out ragged looking, you can always hide that by either filling in with hot glue and then quickly smoothing it out, or by using a little masking tape on the side and wrapping it around the back. I'm going to use some chalk paint on these because it tends to dry fast and you can get a lot of coverage without too much paint. When you're painting on foam core, you want to avoid saturating it with liquid paint because that's when it will start to bow and it could peel up on the edges. So I'm being really careful here to use as little paint as possible. I did a few light coats going in the direction of the curves of a pumpkin. I want a bit of distressing like the one at Kirkland's, so I'm just going along until I get the look that I want. Next, for the stems, I'm mixing up a brown color. Don't worry too much about where the stem connects to the rest of the pumpkin because we'll be covering that up with a buffalo check bow. To add a little more dimension, I'm going over one shade darker along the edges and I'm blending that in to give it a three-dimensional look. To make an easel back stand for these, you could either pick these up that just stick to the back, or you could make your own out of foam core. Start by cutting a triangle about half as tall as your sign. If you want your pumpkins to sit perfectly straight up, then 90-degree angles on the triangle is fine. But if you want them to sit back a little bit, then set up your pumpkin at the angle you want. Check to see how much empty space is behind the pumpkin and then trim that off of the triangle. So I took off about 1/4 inch of mine and now the pumpkins will be just tilted that much. All that's left to do is attach the gingham bows. Here were the supplies we had to pick up. I'm not going to count things you already have in your craft closet like paint or paintbrushes, but these were the main supplies that we picked up from Dollar Tree. And here is mine compared to the Kirkland's one. I think they look pretty similar, but let me know in the comments section what you think. That cloth was just the right size to fit over the pumpkin wreath form. I went section by section, just getting the cloth glued into place on the wreath form. This is such a nice soft cloth, but you could use any type of fabric for this part. Felt or a thin fabric would work nicely on here. If it has a little stretch to it, then it'll make this part easier because you can maneuver and tug the fabric a bit if you need to. Oh, and these are my new scissors. I just got them and I'm loving them. They are made to be more ergonomically friendly And this is great if you have arthritis or any other hand or wrist issue. They're really comfortable to use, and I'll link them in the description box below in case you're interested. Next, I trimmed the excess fabric off and folded the edges over the back and glued everything in place. For the pumpkin stem, I grabbed some of that Dollar Tree twine and I wrapped this around and around that top. I loved this checkered ribbon for my fall crafts today, and it was the only one I saw at Dollar Tree, so I snatched it right up. I'm making a bow for right under the stem. There are so many pretty fall florals at Dollar Tree, but I'm going to use these since I was so excited to find such large florals. They have clips on the back so you could clip them right onto the fabric or glue them in place. I ended up adding a few more florals with these to finish up the look. I grabbed a few of these easel back signs. They are little chalkboards, and they even come with a piece of chalk. But I will be painting these with white spray paint, so I will hang on to that chalk for another day. Let's use 3 of those easels and have it say, "Fall is here." I'll have this printable on my blog, artsycupcake.com, in case you want the free download. In this project, I'll share some tips to get a custom sign look if you don't own a Cricut or other cutting machine. On one of the easels, I want to have a pumpkin, so I'm going to disassemble these because this will fit perfectly on that easel. I added some of these 3D rounded stickers around the edge, and then I'm going to give this a coat of white spray paint. Since the middle sign will have the pumpkin, I think I will dress up the other 2 easels with some bows. I traced the signs and then trimmed them out with an X-Acto knife, and then I rounded the edges with some scissors. A little Super 77 and these signs fit perfectly. If you're printing something and applying it to a sign, try to make the backgrounds similar colors. Since I painted those easels white, if there is a slight error when I stick down the sign, it wouldn't show because the sign is also a light color. Spray painting that easel also helped hide any darkness, so there wouldn't be any show through of the black chalkboard through the white paper. And that's especially helpful if you have thin paper that you're using. These rub-on transfers are also great if you don't have a Cricut. They come in so many different fonts and words and themes and colors. I just want the word is for our middle sign, so I'm going to carefully cut that out so I don't mess up any of the other words because I'll want to use these for future projects. All you have to do now is press and then peel off the plastic, and you can't even see the edges. I just love these things. We'll be using this sign I found at Dollar Tree in their fall section, and I really like the faux wood design that it has on the edges. I'm measuring the inside of that black frame so I can create a sign for the middle part. I created two versions and had a hard time deciding between orange and white, but I ended up going with the lighter one, and I'll put both versions on my blog. I always use gloves when working with Super 77 because that stuff is potent. It gets the job done, but it will also be on your hands for the rest of the day if you don't use a glove. I'm going to take this outside and give it a light coat before smoothing it down. I loved the little wheat branches that I found at Dollar Tree. I'd never seen those before, and I decided I would use these as part of the sign to give it a bit of dimension. I added a bow so it would match the other decor we created. These little pumpkins used to have clips on them, but I took those off and painted them white. I also gave the brown stems a touch up with my Sharpie paint pen so that they would be black to match our sign. Please don't forget to subscribe for more home decor ideas every week, and if you want even more fall inspiration, I'll make sure to link another video for you right over here. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a creative day. Bye!